Yeah, hi, good evening, Kapil from Unogeeks University.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, guys. I just started a meeting a couple of minutes early, guys, so that there won't be any confusion. We have enabled passcode on the meeting. We did share it with all the participants as well. But since we have enabled a passcode today morning itself, usual thing students do is they start looking for passcode at 6 o'clock. So we will only for today, we'll wait until 6:02, let everybody join the training session, and after that, we get started with it. We'll wait for 2 more minutes, guys, for everybody to dial into a training session. Just because we enabled passcode yesterday, only for today, we'll give them a couple of minutes, and then we get started. 7 or 8 more students to join. We'll wait for 30 more seconds. Let's get started, guys. I'm sharing my screen. So we're done with our first 2 demo sessions yesterday and day before, and we did cover what exactly integrations are, what challenges we have to deal with, and how exactly building integrations in OIC work. right? So I gave you a high-level overview of integration designer options also in yesterday's session. And we're not going to get started with building integrations in OIC right away. And I know very well that some of you are completely new to integrations track. And yes, you might have played a technical role or non-technical role earlier, but you have not worked in an integration product before. And in such cases, if I directly take you to OIC and if I use terms like REST API or a SOAP service, you would be like, Prasad, what's going on, right? So to make everybody comfortable with the basic integration terminology, and I want all of you to be very much confident in the web service basics, guys. So today and tomorrow, we will be spending time to understand web service basics. There are two types of web services available in the market today, guys. You have SOAP services and REST APIs. These are the two popular types of web services we have in cloud. We'll be focusing on SOAP service basics today, and we would be covering REST API basics tomorrow. And by the time we complete tomorrow's session, you would know all the basics, all the key terms associated with a SOAP service as well as REST APIs. Please note, guys, a SOAP service is a bit lengthier topic. So we would need at least, complete a full-length session. A full-length 1 hour session is required for this. So I'm going to go at a very slow pace, and I'll take the entire full-length 1 hour session to explain the basics. It might even go up till 7.5 as well. And only as an exception, we would be extending a session until 7:15 today, so that we have 10 minutes for doubts clarification. And if the explanation itself goes until 7:15, tomorrow I would be taking a question and answers related to SOAP services as well. We should be able to accommodate a Q&A also today itself, because we are extending a session by 15 minutes. But from tomorrow onwards, we will be starting a session at 6 o'clock on the dot, and request everybody to join the session on time. If you join 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, and if you miss the intro part, you wouldn't know what's going on in the training session. So please join the session on the dot so that we don't have any interruptions and we can proceed further, and you also fully understand what I'm talking about. And only for today, we'll be doing a session from 6 to 7:15. But from tomorrow onwards, until we complete the batch, we will be doing sessions, 1 hour sessions from 6 to 7, roughly 55 minutes topic, 50 minutes topic, and 10 minutes for Q&A, because we have a bigger batch size here. Now we'll get started with SOAP service basics. And as I explain things, we normally see this with a fresh batch in the initial few sessions. Everybody is enthusiastic, and with full energy, you dial into a session. And as I start talking about explaining a specific concept, you start raising your hand, asking about something that I'm going to talk about in the next half an hour. Okay, please don't go overboard. Focus on each and every bit that I'm explaining. Stop stepping into future. Live in the present. Understand what I'm explaining at that point in time. If you have any questions, have a pen and paper, jot it down. And when I open a session for Q&A, please feel free to go ahead and raise your question. And once we started building integrations in OIC, we would be taking periodic pauses as well during a session, and I'll ask you if you have any questions in between. Okay, so that sets the tone for today's session. And first of all, we're going to cover web service basics today and tomorrow. And what exactly a web service is, guys? If you talk about it from a layman terminology, it is nothing but a service offered over web. To keep it simple, it is nothing but a service offered over web. And a web service offers, or it enables communication among various applications using open standards like XML, WSDL, SOAP, and so on. And what are the two popular types of web services available in the market, guys? You have SOAP and you have REST. SOAP is an old timer. It's been there for a few decades now. REST is relatively newer type of a web service, but even though it is relatively newer, it is also more than a decade old. It is also more than a decade old. Today we will be focusing on SOAP. Tomorrow we focus on REST APIs. And there are two key usages of web services, guys. You can use them to build a reusable application components, and we call them as APIs. So what are a few examples? You have currency conversion APIs, weather reports, and so on, or language translations. You might not know it, guys, but in your day-to-day life, you are already consuming a lot of web services on a daily basis, guys. Say, for example, if one of you go to Google and type in what is exchange rate from USD to INR, maybe you want to pay for this course. What would happen in the background, guys? There would be a REST API, currency conversion API that gets called. It would fetch the exchange rates information, and that will be displayed back to you on the browser. And let's say Arun has plans to go out in the evening, and he goes into Google and types in, is it going to rain in Hyderabad tonight? Again, there would be a weather SOAP service that gets called in the background. That would fetch the weather information, and that will be displayed back to him in the browser. So even without your knowledge, you are already consuming plenty of web services on in your day-to-day life. And you can also use web services to connect existing softwares, guys. In fact, this is what we are more interested in. And what could those softwares be? It can be it can be Oracle, non-Oracle. It can be cloud, it can be on-premise. Doesn't really matter, guys. So these are the two key usages of web services. Now we'll be focusing on SOAP service basics today. And how exactly are we going to cover the basics of SOAP services, guys? Not by going through the PPTs or slides in the PPT. I hate them, in fact. And the PPTs are only for your reference purposes. Instead, what we do is to understand the basics of these web services. We would be picking up one of a standard SOAP service given by Oracle or a REST API tomorrow. We'll pick up a standard services given by Oracle. We'll try to test them using the testing tools. And along the way, we understand the basics of it. Because if you learn anything doing a hands-on, it will be very, very easy for you to relate to the concepts. Okay. Now, if your client, any client is implementing, let's say they're implementing Fusion application, I'm sure all of you would have received onboarding email by now. And if you open up the onboarding email, guys, can you pull out the onboarding email, please? I'll just take a pause here. Now, when you go to the onboarding email, yes, let me wait for 2 minutes so that all of you pull out that onboarding email. And I'm just trying to put in a couple of files in your session recordings folder. After you open up your onboarding email, guys, there will be 3 Google Drive links in that onboarding email. Can you please open them? You would have 3 Google Drive links in the onboarding email. Please open them, guys. I'm going to share my screen back in a moment. I'm just copying a couple of files into that folder. Okay. If you pull out your onboarding email, guys, and there would be, first of all, there will be a Zoom meeting link and there will be a passcode, guys. If you have received onboarding email before we enabled a passcode, there would have been another email that you would have got with a passcode information. The Zoom link and a passcode is not going to change. So you don't need to ping Prasad every day at 6 o'clock and ask what's the meeting ID for today. Until we complete the batch, same Zoom link, same passcode. And there are 3 Google Drive links in it. If you open them up, one of the links will bring you into this folder. into a session recordings folder. All the training sessions that we are going to do for your batch, we would record them and upload them to this particular folder. You would be able to find session recordings here. And in this particular folder, you would be able to see one additional session that I've uploaded. You see 2 sessions, guys. These are the 2 sessions that I've done on 23rd and 24th February, yesterday and day before. And similarly, as and when we are done with a session for that particular day, I'll be uploading a recording here. And in the folder, I have uploaded another 30-minute session here, which says how to use onboarding email. As soon as today's session is done, or whenever you get time tomorrow, I want each and every one of you to go through this 30 minutes clip in detail. And in this particular video, I explain how exactly you should be using the onboarding email. Okay, I'm not going to repeat that entire 30-minute story here. Just go through this recording, and here I mentioned clearly how exactly you should be able to use the onboarding email. Where do you find the login credentials? How do you log into Fusion Cloud? What to do if a Fusion Cloud password is not working? How frequently the passwords get updated, and how are you going to access the live sheet? Everything is explained in detail here. And apart from that, there's also one more Excel sheet that I have uploaded here, guys. So the point is, whenever you work in an OIC project, you would be building integrations related to Fusion Cloud mostly. It's not necessary that you can build, or there's no restriction in OIC that you can build integrations only with Fusion application. But if you ask how clients are using OIC in real time, most of them would be using it with a Fusion Cloud implementation projects. And I don't say that you have to master Fusion Cloud, but at least you should have a fair bit of understanding as to what the hell this application is all about. What are these words? Oracle Fusion Cloud application. How do you navigate around in a Fusion instance? What are these groups that you see? What is a navigator, and so on? And you also need to understand security to a certain level, because that knowledge would be required. Once we start building building ERP related services. So what I did is to help you, to provide you with that particular context, what I did is I uploaded a Excel sheet here, and in that Excel sheet, you have 4 Fusion Cloud overview sessions that I've done for a Fusion technical training for a batch in the past. You don't need to necessarily go through all of them today or tomorrow. But before we get started with ERP related integration, and it would take at least a good couple of weeks by the time we reach that stage, by the time we start the journal import SOAP service, I want all of you to go through these 4 sessions and make yourself comfortable in Fusion Cloud, in case you're completely new to it. Okay, so 2 action items. After the session today or probably tomorrow, go through this complete 30-minute session, understand how exactly you should be using onboarding email. And before we do the journal import service, ensure that you go through these sessions and make yourself comfortable in Fusion Cloud. Now I've logged into Fusion Cloud application here. I logged into the first instance that is in the sheet here. And once we log in, I logged in as FinIMPL user. Now, whenever any client implements Fusion Cloud application, guys, remember there would be a lot of integrations that you have to build to talk to a Fusion application. Let's say that you have to create an AR invoice. Let's say that you need to create a one customer invoice or a receivable invoice. What is it that we can do? We can scroll to the right. I can go to receivables and I can create an invoice manually. Okay, this is what you would do. But what if your client says, Prasad, I have a billing system. And that billing system is going to give me 100 invoices or 500 invoices. Do you roll up your sleeve, sit down full day and create those invoices one after the other 500 times, guys? Obviously no, right? There should be a better approach to deal with it. So that's exactly where Oracle has given plenty of web services. Oracle has given a lot of standard SOAP services and REST APIs to talk to this Fusion application. When I say talk to this Fusion application, you can use those standard SOAP and REST APIs to load the data into Fusion Cloud. And you can also use them to extract the data from Fusion Cloud as well. And what we do is we'll pick up one such standard SOAP service given by Oracle to talk to Fusion application. Tomorrow we pick up a REST API. We try to test it and understand the basics of it. Now, the first question that comes to your mind is, Prasad, you said there are plenty of standard SOAP and REST APIs given by Oracle for Fusion application. Well, you ask, Prasad, where do I find that information? Well, the good question is, or the good part is, yes, if you already have downloaded the PPTs, if you go to slide number 8, you have that link. In slide number 8, you have the standard Oracle documentation link. You can directly click on it. And if you have not downloaded the PPT yet, you can, in the Fusion application itself, you can click on the username. And you have something called as an applications help here. Click on that, and when you click on it, it takes you to Oracle documentation screen. Now, a couple of students might raise your hand and say, Prasad, I did the exact same thing. I clicked on the username. I clicked on application help, and I'm not seeing a new pop-up or a window like this opening up. What could be the reason, guys? It's just that you have a pop-up blocker enabled. Look at this particular part in your browser. There would have been a pop-up blocker enabled. Click on that and disable the pop-up blocker so that this documentation URL gets launched. If it's still not working, if you're not good at enabling pop-up blocker, well, no worries. You just have to go to slide number 8, pick up the URL from here. Now, if you look at this documentation, it's a standard Oracle Cloud documentation page, guys. And here you would see plenty of offerings. Like you see ERP, SCM, HCM offering, and so on. And we do have modules within them. You can pick up any module that you like. As an example, I go into financials, guys. And what is it that we see? As an example, I'm going into financials here. And I click on integrate. Now, when I click on integrate, what is it that you get to see, guys? I click on integrate. I would be able to see the standard REST APIs as well as the SOAP services given by Oracle, guys. Please note that these are the two types of web services available in the market today, right? And Oracle has given a lot of standard SOAP services and REST APIs to talk to Fusion application. And I can find more information about those SOAP services and REST APIs here. Today we go in here, tomorrow we get into REST APIs. Now, when you click on review SOAP services, what is it that you get to see, guys? When you click on review SOAP services, a link is going to show you all the standard SOAP services given by Oracle for finance modules. Why is it that we see only the finance related services here, guys? Any idea? Why do we see only finance related services? Because that is the one
we
that
selected only.
Yeah, we selected financials in the previous screen. So if you have probably picked up procurement or HCM, you would probably see those REST APIs or SOAP services here. Now, what do we see here, guys? What SOAP services we see? We see a service to load credit card information. We see a service to load fixed assets. We see service to load journals, payable invoices, receivable transactions, and so on. So what is it that we can do? If you're getting 100 or 500 invoices from a billing system, we can make use of this receivable service to load that data in real quick time into Fusion Cloud. Now, since we are trying to get the basics of SOAP services right in today's session, I'm not going to pick up a complex service like a receivables API or a payables or receivables invoice or payables invoice or journal, because they would have complex payloads and it'll be difficult for you to understand the basics. And in fact, when we do the journal import service, we would see how to make use of the journal SOAP service given by Oracle in that particular integration use case. Since we are getting our basics right, I'm going to pick up ERP Integration Service as an example. And a couple of reasons why I'm picking up ERP Integration Service as an example here. Two simple reasons. This is one of the service that you use very frequently in plenty of integrations you build in OIC, guys. Because this service contains operations that you usually need in many integrations you build. You can think of it more like a utility service. So for example, if you build PL SQL packages, you create utility packages, right? wherein you have procedures that you need in or every other procedure, like send an email, log a message, and so on. So you can think of it something similar to it. You can think of this service as also something similar. So this service has got operations which you need in every other service that we have, every other integration that we build, for plenty of them, if not every. And another reason why I'm picking this service up as an example today is it contains operations with a very simple payload. Now, when you go to a service, the first thing that you do is there would be a couple of lines of description. You can read it if you want. And there would be a service WSDL URL. Copy that WSDL, and all you have to do is paste it into a notepad. Paste it into a notepad. And after you copy paste that service WSDL, at this point, you don't know what is WSDL. I'll talk about it in 2 minutes. And if you look at the WSDL URL, you would have something called as server name here. That's a generic keyword that's given by Oracle. So you need to replace the server name with your client a Fusion application link. So this is your client a Fusion Cloud instance link. You should be copying the Fusion Cloud application URL, and that is exactly what you should be replacing in the server name here. So what is it that you do? You copy paste this URL, and in place of server name, you copy this URL of Fusion Cloud application from fa.until.com, paste it in the server name, and that's how you get the actual WSDL URL. And you see a word called FSCM in the URL. What does FSCM stands for, guys? When you look at the application here, you see
supply chain management.
Financials and supply chain management. When you look at the top here, it says Oracle Fusion Cloud application. Now, when I say Oracle Fusion Cloud, I'm referring to the entire instance. And within a Fusion Cloud application, you would have a couple of cloud applications, child cloud applications, you can say. You have ERP Cloud and you have HCM Cloud. And in ERP Cloud, financials and SCM offerings put together is referred to as ERP. HCM modules are referred to as HCM Cloud. Now, when you see FSCM service, what does it mean, guys? It is a SOAP service. Service, a word means it's a SOAP service. If it is a REST, you would have a word called API. Only if it is and you would even have a word REST also there. You would have a word called as REST API. Only if it is a SOAP service, you would have a word as service here. And FSCM service, you see a service name $WSDL. Now, I copied the URL from the documentation. I replaced the server name with Fusion Cloud instance name. And I want to check whether this is a valid WSDL or not. How do I check it, guys? To check if it is a valid WSDL or not, you just go to Firefox, paste in that WSDL URL, and you get to see the complete details about a web service. Now, what exactly WSDL stands for, guys? It stands for Web Service Definition Language, meaning when you access the URL, you get to see the complete details about a web service. You see the service name, you see the description, you see the operations, and for every operation again, you would have a description, and you see the input parameters and you see the output parameters as well. To keep it simple, a WSDL is going to give you the complete web service details. It's called as Web Service Definition Language. Now, whatever, similar to how you would have procedures in a PL SQL package, and the procedures are logical units basically. Similar to how you have procedures in a PL SQL package, you would have operations within a SOAP service. And when you call a procedures, or when you have procedures in a package, and when you call them, do you call a package as a whole, guys, or do you call a specific procedure within a package? What is it that you do, guys? Do you call just a package, or do you call a specific procedure within a package?
It will be specific procedure.
Procedure, right? Always a specific procedure or a function in a package is what you call. You don't call a package in general. In a similar fashion, you don't call a SOAP web service. Instead, you will be calling one of the operation within it, which is the logical units. So you would have, so these are the operations that we have in a SOAP service. And to help you understand the basics, what we do is we will try to test a couple of operations available in this service. So let's test two operations: submit ESS job request and get ESS job status operations. The list of operations are also available in the documentation here. If you scroll down a little bit, you see the list of operations. To understand the basics, let's test the first two operations. And this operation says, the name is submit ESS job request. Now, at this point, you don't know what exactly an ESS job is, right? So what is an ESS job? It stands for Enterprise Scheduling Service Job. That's a full form of ESS, Enterprise Scheduling Service Job. It's ESS job. And if you're coming in with a EBS background, any business should, whenever you build any technical components like BI reports or PL SQL packages or anything, right, you would be registering them as concurrent programs. In a similar fashion in Fusion Cloud, when there are any technical components created, either by Oracle or by your technical team, those technical components has to be registered as something called as ESS jobs. They are synonymous to concurrent programs. But if you don't have EBS background, ignore it. Think of them as technical jobs that are registered in Fusion Cloud. And when you run an ESS job in the application, there would be a technical component that gets executed in the background. It could be a report that could run in the background, or it can be a PL SQL package. Okay, and there are other executable types as well. So ESS stands for Enterprise Scheduler Service Job. Okay. Now, we want to see how to submit an ESS job in Fusion Cloud using this operation and how to get its status using this. Now, before we see how to submit an ESS job in cloud using this operation, I want to show you how to run a job in Fusion Cloud manually first, so that you understand how it works. So how do we do that, guys? So what we do is, after you log into Fusion application, by default, you will be in this particular group. To submit a job in Fusion Cloud, you click on the menu option, guys. Click on the navigator and you scroll down, and you need to expand our tool section. Expand the tool section. Under tool section, you will see something called as schedule processes, guys. So this is a screen from where you can run a ESS job. This is a navigation option from where you can run a Enterprise Scheduler Service Job or ESS job. So when I come into this particular screen, schedule process screen, I could see that there are some jobs running, and it could confuse you. So what I do is I expand the search screen, and I logged into the application as Finance Implementation User. I logged into the application as a Finance Implementation User with this password. So I would be applying my username as a filter. So this is like me telling Fusion application, boss, I'm not interested in the jobs that others are running. In this table, show me only the jobs that I submitted. That's a filter that we are applying. And you see a blank screen, meaning there are no jobs submitted by this user. It'll be easy and clean for you to understand. And I minimize the search criteria and I try to run a job. When I say schedule new process, it asks me, tell me what is the ESS job that you want to submit. Now, when I click on the drop down, what do I get to see, guys? You will be able to see a list of jobs are showing up in the drop down. Now you see that the list of jobs that you see, it's going to be pretty long list, guys. With a Fusion application, Oracle has already given, with a Fusion application, Oracle has already given plenty of ESS jobs out of the box. I mean, they come with the application by default. And your technical consultant might also define few additional jobs as well. Now, all you do is you search for the job that you want to run. And I'm going to show you where those jobs are defined in 15 minutes from now. I'm going to search for one of the existing job in the application. I'm going to search for payables health check job. I'm just picking up one random job. And I'm least interested in what this job does. I just need to pick up one job to show you how to submit it. And I'm picking up a random job here, not really interested in what it does in the background. All it does is it does some basic health checks of the payables application and give you a report. But we are more interested in understanding how to go into Fusion Cloud and how to run a job. We are not interested in what this job does. That's not our intent. So all you have to do is to submit a job, log into the application, go to tools, schedule process, pick up a job that you want to run. And if that job has any parameters, you will be able to see the parameter section here. And you would be choosing the parameters and you would submit it. And this particular job didn't have any parameters, so the section is blank and you hit the submit button. Now, the moment you submit a ESS job, you would get back a request ID. Do remember this behavior. And you should be able to see the job running in the application here. So this is exactly how you run the ESS job in Fusion application manually. But what if you want to do this from an integration that you're building in OIC, guys? What if you have to do this for an integration that you're building in OIC? From an integration in OIC, you want to come into Fusion Cloud and you want to run a job, not manually. Is there any web service and is there any operation that can help you with it? So if you go, yeah, we have something called as ERP Integration Service, and in this service, you have an operation called Submit ESS Job Request. See, in plenty of integrations you build in OIC, you come across the scenario wherein from an integration you want to come in here and you need to run a job. How do I do it from OIC? That's exactly where I would be calling this operation in this particular service from Oracle Integration Cloud integration flow. But since we are yet to start with integrations build, I still want to show you how this operation will help us submit a job today by testing this particular, by calling this operation in this particular service. So how do we test a SOAP service today, guys? Yes, going forward, we will be calling these services SOAP services and REST APIs from OIC. But since we haven't reached that stage yet, and still we want to understand how to test these services, what we do is for today, we would be using a testing tool. We need a testing tool to test the SOAP services. And the testing tool that we use to test the SOAP services is a SOAP UI. If you don't have this tool installed on your laptop, go to Google, open a new tab, do it after the session. I don't want any of you to do the hands-on in parallel, guys. Never ever do that. You will only be paying 50% attention and you would lose what I'm explaining in a session. Okay, so never do hands-on when I'm explaining something in a session. Pay 200% attention. So you just go to Google and search for a SOAP UI. And the moment you search for SOAP UI, guys, you would be able to see you would be able to see the first link. Go to the download option directly. And this is a testing tool. It's a #1 testing tool that you can use to test the SOAP services. It's available in 2 flavors. It is available as a paid version, and it is also available as a free version. We don't need a paid version, guys. This free version is much more than enough for anything that you do, even in real-time OIC projects. So you just download the SOAP UI. If you are using a Windows machine and if you download it, there would be an executable file that gets downloaded. Just double-click on that executable file, follow the instructions, and by the time you reach the last step, there will be an icon like this showing up on your laptop. And the moment you click on that icon, you see a shortcut like this showing up on your desktop. Click on it, and that would launch the SOAP UI tool. What exactly is this tool, guys? It is a tool that we use to test the SOAP services. And when you open a SOAP UI tool for the first time, if it is a fresh installation, you will not see any of these projects. Instead, you need to create a new SOAP project either from here or from here. And I create it, and I'm going to call it as UG112. This is your batch identifier, and I'm going to paste in the WSDL URL. So copy the ERP Integration Service, WSDL, paste it here, and let SOAP UI create a sample request for all the operations. So there are plenty of operations in this service, right? We want SOAP UI to create sample requests for every operation. So you say, okay. And the moment you do that, you see that the WSDL definition gets loaded. And you see that there are two folders added here. You see a SOAP HTTP folder, and you see a response binding. Two folders got added here, response binding, SOAP HTTP. Ignore a response binding folder, go to HTTP. And under HTTP folder, you will be able to see the operations. And for every operation, SOAP UI would have created a sample request by default. So submit ESS job request is what we want to test first. And then that would help us submit a request, give back a request ID. For that request, if I want to get the job status, I would be using this operation. But for every operation, a sample request is already generated. And if I open the sample request payload created by SOAP UI for submit ESS job request operation, this opens up. Now you see here, it is asking me to pass in the job package name, definition name, and the parameters. So it's like, Prasad, looks like you want to submit a job. Tell me what is the job package name, definition name, and with what parameters you want to submit that job. And what's the behavior that you see here, guys? You see that for every attribute, you see every attribute is mentioned twice. So you see job package name, this is a start tag and this is an end tag. And between the start and end tags, you see question marks. Now, how do you know that this is an end tag? You see a slash at the beginning. Now, for every attribute, you see a start tag, then a question mark, then an end tag. And in place of question mark, you have to pass in the actual value. Now, what type of data format is this called as, guys? It's called as an XML format. This is called as XML, and SOAP services use XML format for communication. And whatever is the content that you have here that you will be passing as input when you submit a request, what do we call this as, guys? We don't call it as input message. Instead, we should be using a term called as a request payload. So whatever is a payload, whatever is a message that you're passing as input when you submit a request, you should never use terms like input message or output message. Instead, you should call it as a request payload. Payload is nothing but the message. That's the right word for it. So, once you submit a request, you get back a response, and that is exactly what we call as output message. We don't call it, we don't use the word output message. Instead, we use a word response payload. So what you pass as input is called as request payload. What you get in the response is a response payload. Now, yes, I need to pass in job package name, definition name, and the parameters of this particular job. Let's say we want to submit the same job. Assume that we want to submit the same job from SOAP UI by using this operation, by calling this operation in this service. So where would I get the job package name and definition name of this particular ESS job, guys? So when I click on schedule new process, all I did was I clicked on the drop down. I was able to see list of jobs and I picked up one of them. But where is this list coming in from, guys? This list comes from ESS job definition screen. There is another screen in Fusion Cloud where these ESS jobs are defined. Whether it is a job given by Oracle or whether it is a job registered by your technical consultant, everything would be available in that screen. So all you have to do is open up a Fusion application in a new tab. And you click on the username. And under administration, you have something called as setup and maintenance. Click on that link. And that will take you to a functional setup manager screen, guys. We don't need to do anything in this screen. Just click on the task ribbon and go to global search. Since it is the first time that we are navigating in a Fusion Cloud, it might sound like too many steps. But by the time we complete this course, we would be doing it at least 5 or 10 times, guys. So you get comfortable by that time. So all I did is I logged in, clicked on the username, click on setup and maintenance, click on the task ribbon, go to global search. That's how you go to a search page from where you can search for any setup in Fusion Cloud. And I need to search for a specific setup called Manage Enterprise Job Percentage Job. And this would show me the job definition task. And I see the job definition screen for FSCM, HCM, and CRM. I'm interested in finding the job definition of a payables health check job. And obviously, everybody knows that payables is a finance module, not a HCM or CRM module. So obviously, I should be going into FSCM job definition screen here. And if you don't know the navigation, you can talk to Fusion Technical Consultant and get the navigation from him. And what is it that I should be searching for? I need to search for this payables health check job in this particular screen. And in this screen, you will be able to see all the ESS jobs defined by Oracle for FSCM modules. And even if your technical consultant creates any technical components, they would also be registering ESS jobs here. So this is a job that I want to run. Go to the job definition. And from the job definition, I should be picking up a path. And this is exactly what you should be passing in as a job package name. So you see the question mark, take it off, pass in the package name. And I should be copying the job definition name. Please note, guys, you should not copy the display name. Copy the job display. You should not copy the display name. Copy the job definition name. And you have to pass it here. And does this job have any parameters here, guys? Obviously, no. So yes, for this particular job, since we don't have any parameters, you see the parameter list, it has been configured by Oracle as a repeating element, meaning you can repeat this tag 0 times, or you can repeat this tag n number of times, depending on the number of parameters you have. So since this particular job doesn't have parameters, I can knock off this tag completely. We don't need it. But tomorrow, if you are submitting an ESS job which has 3 parameters or 1 parameter, what do? You repeat this tag once, and you would pass in the first parameter value there. And if you are trying to submit a job tomorrow which has 3 parameters, obviously you would repeat this tag thrice, and you will pass in 3 parameters here. It is common sense and no-brainer that the number of parameters that you're going to mention here and the sequence in which you mention them should match with the job definition. And if you don't want to pass in any value for one of the attributes, you just leave it blank, but you still need to have that blank tag. In this particular case, this job doesn't have any parameters. I'm going to take it off, and you try to hit the submit button. This is a first mistake that you do in a hurry to test your first SOAP service. When I hit the submit button, see the behavior, guys. Whatever is a payload that I'm passing in here, request payload, the same thing is coming back in the response payload, and you have no clue what's going on. But before you draft a WhatsApp message and send it across to Prasad, take a pause and try to understand that you didn't pass in the authentication credentials. So this is a typical behavior you see. When you don't pass in authentication details, whatever you pass in a request payload come back in the response. And even if you go to Fusion Cloud and if you try to refresh it here, you wouldn't see any job submitted here. But looks like somebody is practicing along, and somebody did this 8 minutes back or 12, a few minutes back, somebody has submitted it. And this is precisely what I was saying earlier. No practice during the session. Now, when this particular job, certainly this is not my request. And whatever I passed in a sample, I got back in the response, and you are in XML tag. And if you want to see the exact problem, you click on raw, and that tells you the reason. It says 401 unauthorized. What does it mean, guys? It means that all the standard SOAP services and the REST APIs given by Oracle. So we are in the documentation screen here, guys. So all the standard SOAP services and REST APIs given by Oracle, okay? Whether it is the standard SOAP services that we are using today or the REST APIs that we use tomorrow, all of them are secured APIs, meaning whenever you test them, you certainly have to pass in authorization details. So you go to XML, you take it off, you understand that you've got 401 unauthorized error because we didn't pass in authentication details. So we go to authorization and we click on OK, and we have to pass in the login credentials. So I enter FINIMPL. And I'm going to enter the password here, paste it. And the moment you hit the save submit button, what exactly SOAP UI would try to do now? It would try to log into this EXES instance using this username and password, and it would try to run this particular job. Let's see if that works or not. And we got back a response now. And in that response that you get, what is it that you see, guys? You would be able to see a result in the response, and in that result, you would be able to see a request ID that ends with 262. Now you go back to Fusion Cloud and you refresh the URL, you should be able to see that 262 showing up here. So this is a request that we submitted. I'm calling this operation in this particular service. Now, when you submit a request manually from here, you can see with your naked eye, what is the completion status of that job? Did it complete in succeeded or warning state? But what if you have submitted a job from an SOAP UI tool or from an integration in OIC tomorrow, guys? You would only get back a request ID and you don't know what was the completion status of this job. So if you have a request ID and you might be wondering, Prasad, why do I need the completion status? Well, certainly you need it, guys, because if you're trying to import journals in an integration flow, and let's say you go to Fusion Cloud and you submit import journals job, you would definitely want to know what is the completion status of that job so that you can plug in the required logic after that. So if the job has completed in error state, you send a notification saying that journal batch import has failed. Otherwise, you send a success notification. So you have a request ID here, and how is it that you can get back a status of it? I can go to get ESS job status. You see that there's a request payload here. You enter a request ID and you pass in authorization details. And what is it that you would do now, guys? This operation is going to go to ERP, and whatever is a request ID that I'm passing in here, for this particular request ID, I manually copied the request ID from the response of this operation. I pasted it here, and I've got the response here. And in the response, what is it that we see, guys? We see the completion status of the job. And you see that it is succeeded. Don't worry about the case, guys. When you look at the status on the job submission screen, you will see it as in it cap. But when you get the response, you see it in all capital letters. So we have seen how to submit an ESS job request using this operation, and we have seen how to get its status back using this operation, right? Now, to help you connect these dots and understand how exactly we use the standard SOAP services given by Oracle when we build integrations in OIC. To help you connect the dots, what I do was I would open up the journal import service that we're going to build later on in the course. And I'll show you a high-level design so that you can relate to it. So I go to one of the projects, guys, and I'll try to open up a journal import service. And this is a service that we're going to create for your batch as well. We're going to build it as fourth integration. And assume that we're building this integration for a client like HSBC. And HSBC would trigger your integration from their core banking system. They would call your integration. They're going to pass in journals payload as input. And let's say your integration is triggered and you received 500 journal lines as input. I need to import those journal lines in ERP Cloud. What is it that I would do, guys? I go ahead and see if there is a SOAP service given by Oracle to submit or to import journals in cloud. I could see that there is a journal service here. So this journal import service is what I'm going to call here. So I would use ERP connection. And what is the service that you're going to call using ERP connection, guys? Go to the next screen and you say CRUD operations, and you would be picking up journal import service and import journals operation. So you get 500 lines as input and you pass those 500 lines as input to this particular journal import service, passing in all those lines as input. Okay, passing in all those lines as input. So what is it that I was calling here? I was calling the journal import service and import journals operation. And immediately, and I would be doing the mapping here. 500 lines received, I passed 500 lines as input to the service. And this service, what it would do was it would insert that data into the interface table. 500 lines it inserts to the interface table. But the point is that doesn't mean the journal is created in cloud, guys. Instead, to process the journals and create them in the base tables, what is it that I should do? I should go back to Fusion application. And in a Fusion application, we need to go ahead and run a job here. So what job should we run to process the journals, guys? And who is going to tell you all this story in real time, guys? If you're new to Fusion Cloud, don't worry or panic. All the steps that I'm explaining here will be told to you by a Fusion functional and the technical teams. They tell you the step-by-step process and you would just be watching them. So in my case, what is it that I should do? At this point in the integration, I need to go to Fusion Cloud and I should be running import journals job in Fusion Cloud. Now tell me one thing, guys, from an integration flow, I need to come into OIC. From this point in the integration, I'm an integration in OIC and I need to go to Fusion Cloud and I need to run this job. Is there any service that you know that can help us, guys, to submit a job in Fusion Cloud? What can I call here?
ERP Integration Service.
And what operation in that service I'm going to call?
Submit ESS job.
Submit ESS job request. Whatever is the first operation that we were calling, we would be picking up that service and that operation here. Okay, ERP Integration Service, submit ESS job request. This is exactly what I call, and this is the operation I call. Submit ESS job request in ERP Integration Service. Now, when we try to submit ESS job request from SOAP UI, what is it that we had to pass in? We were passing in job package name, definition name, and parameters, right? So even when you try to do the same thing from OIC also, I use ERP connection, I try to submit a job, immediately a mapper is created. And OIC says, okay, Prasad, I'll try to submit a job, but tell me, what is the job that you want me to run? So what is it that you mentioned, guys? This time you mentioned the job package name and definition name of import journals. Okay, because this is a job that I want to run. So what is it that I do, guys? I would not a payable self-check job. I want to run the import journals job. So you search for this particular job and you get this particular job details. Like you get the job package name and you get the definition name and you would map it here. And since import journals job has parameters, what is it that I should do, guys? I should be mapping those parameters as well. Whatever you did manually in a SOAP UI today, copy pasting the package name, definition name, and the parameters, you would be doing the exact same thing here. And what's the behavior we noticed today, guys? The moment a job is submitted, we got back a request ID. You see the exact same behavior here also. At this point, OIC will go to ERP, submit a job, import journals job, it gets you back a request ID. And after I try to import a batch, assume that you are from HSBC team and you send me a journal batch to process it. Obviously, what is the next thing that you say, guys? Prasad, after you process a batch, tell me whether that batch is imported successfully or whether it has errored out. Yes or no, guys? Would you be interested in getting a status back or not?
Yes.
Obviously, right? So what is it that I need to do? I'm an integration in OIC. I submitted a job. I have request ID with me. How do I get the job status from ERP Cloud, guys? What should I do? I would wait for 1 minute. And then what I do is I go to ERP Cloud. And what operation should I call now here, guys? I have request ID. I need to get the status.
ESS job status.
Absolutely. So we pick up ERP Integration Service and we pick up get ESS job status operation. So that what would happen? I pick up ERP Integration Service, get ESS job status operation. And when I ask OIC to go to ERP Cloud and get the job status, it would say, okay, boss, I will get the status, but it would create a mapper immediately and it asks you, Prasad, tell me which request ID status should I get? Now, where can I get this request ID from, guys? Okay, looks like somebody has done a wrong mapping here. So where is it that we would be picking up a request ID from? We were submitting a request earlier to submit a job and we get back a response, right? And from the response, you see a request ID. So you see a result here. What is the result you see in a submit ESS job request response, guys? Submit ESS job request as a response. And in the response, you see a result. And what is this result? Nothing but the request ID. So all I'm trying to do is whatever is a request ID that we have got back in the previous step, I'll be passing it as input to this operation. So whatever copy paste that I did manually, copying the request ID here, pasting it here. Do you need to do any of that in the integration? Not really. You would just pick up the response request ID from here, you map it as input here. And when you call the get ESS job status operation and you pass in a request ID, what do you get back? You get back a status here. And what is it that I can do? I would use a switch condition to see what is the status of the job. And based on the status, you send out a relevant email notification. And don't try to master journal import service, guys. We will be spending one whole week on this integration use case. My intention is not to teach you how journal import works. All you need to understand is how exactly we will be calling the standard SOAP services given by Oracle in the integrations we're going to build in future is what you need to understand. We call journal service here, we call ERP service to submit a job, we call ERP service to get the job status. This is exactly how you would be leveraging the standard services given by Oracle to build full-fledged integration flows in OIC. And one last thing before I open it up for questions. You see that we are trying to submit a job here and we are trying to get the job status. And you see that SOAP UI was able to create sample request payloads here. And even OIC was able to create a sample request payloads, right? When I try to get the job status, it is asking me to pass in the request ID. Now, where is it that, how is it that SOAP UI or OIC or any product would be able to derive the or create a sample request payloads for an operation in a SOAP service, guys?
We had given the WSDL link, right?
Yes. So the only input that we have given to SOAP UI is we clicked on SOAP project and we added a WSDL. So somewhere in that WSDL, we have all this information captured, like to what operation, what input we need to pass and what output you get back. So how does that work, guys? So if you go one level deep, until this point, if you're able to follow, more than enough, guys. But I'll go one more level deep. If you get that as well, excellent. Or even if you don't understand it, that's fine. Now, if you go dive a bit deeper, what you see is when Oracle has created a SOAP service, what it would have done is for every operation, there is an input payload that we have to pass in. There's a request payload that you have to pass and there's a response payload. So what Oracle would have done is it would have created required custom data types. Oracle would have created the custom request and response data types for every operation in an XML schema document. For every operation, it would create a request data type, response data type in XML schema document, and it would attach those. With those request and response data types, messages would have been defined. And those messages would have been attached to the operation under a port type element, guys. Let me show you this whole flow. So if I go back to the WSDL, I go back to the WSDL here, and in the WSDL, you would be able to search for something called as types. And this types is nothing but XML schema document. This is where you have all the custom data types defined in a schema document. You see that there's an XML schema document link here. Copy it, paste it in a new tab. And the moment you paste it in a new tab, what do we see, guys? For every operation, there is a request and a response data type. For every operation, you see a request and a response data type. So what is it that you need to pass in the request payload for that operation? With those attributes, a request data type is created. To get the job status, we need only request ID, long data type. To get the response, or in the response, we get only result, which is a string data type. So you have request and response data types defined for every operation with the required fields in a XML schema document. And with that request and response data types, there would have been a request and a response messages defined. With that request and response data types, there is a request message and a response message defined. To the request message, a request data type is attached. To a response message, you see response data type. See, for a request, guys, you don't have word request. For a response, you have it. So you see request response data types are defined in XML schema document, and using those request response data types, messages have been created. And with that request response messages, and those request response messages are attached to the input and output under the operation. So within a SOAP service, you have a port type element. Under a port type element, you have all the operations. So to the operation, in the input, there would be a request message attached. In the output, there would be a response attached. So you now know what or how is it working in the background. So when I load in this WSDL in a SOAP UI or any other integration product, what do they do, guys? It would go to port type and it would try to pick up one operation at a time. And SOAP UI picked up this operation. It picks up the request data type and it searches for it. It searches for it. And in that request message, there is a request data type. It picks up that request data type, go to XML schema document, searches for that request data type. And whatever attributes are mentioned here, with those attributes, a sample request payload would be created. Okay. Now let's see how it's working for submit ESS job request, guys. You guys need to help me with this. Submit ESS job request. So what exactly SOAP UI would have done, guys, when it prepared a sample payload for submit ESS job request, it goes to the operation, and what it would do, guys, SOAP UI, it would see what is the message attached to the input, right? Shall I copy this? Copy. And you go to the next screen and you search for it. And in that particular message, you see that there is a data type attached. SOAP UI will pick it up and it would go to the XSD XML schema document. It would search for that data type here. And what are the attributes we see, guys, for submit ESS job request? We see a job package name, definition name, and you see a parameter list. And for parameter list, it says 0 to n occurrences. Min occurs is 0, max occurs is unbounded. So which means in this particular operation, to this operation, in this particular SOAP service, we have to pass these attributes. And that's why you see the sample payload for submit ESS job request, guys. What is it that we were able to see? Package name, definition name, and parameters was a repeating element. I deleted it because we didn't need it. We don't need it for this job. So that's why I deleted it. So this is exactly how it works. So WSDL would have all the details. You have XML request and response data types defined in XML schema document. And with those data types, messages are defined. And with those messages are attached to the input and output of the operations under a port type element. So these are all the SOAP service basics that you need to be aware of. And when you ask questions today, I don't want any of you to ask any question related to the journal import service today, because we didn't build the integration yet and you have no clue what the use case is all about. The only reason why I opened this up today is to show you how we can call the standard services given by Oracle in integration flows. So if all of you are able to understand what is a SOAP service, what is SOAP UI, how to call it from a testing tool, how to enter the details here, submit a request, and where is it that this request and response payloads are getting generated from, how do we pass in the authorization details? If these are the basics that you are clear on today, like data types defined in messages, messages attached to operation, that I'll be more than happy, guys. Please raise your hand if you have any questions. Arun? And when I call out your name, guys, please put your mouse on top of the unmute button. Keep it handy. And the moment I call out your name, please be prepared to hit that unmute button as soon as possible. Yes, Arun, go on with your question.
Okay, so first question, Prasad. See, I am familiar with Postman. I was wondering, can we use Postman instead of SOAP UI?
You can do that as well.
Okay. Okay. And I have a second question. See, when we get this ESS job status back, right, from the SOAP in the SOAP UI, can I get the log as well?
Yes, you do have an operation for it as well. You have an operation called download ESS job execution details. And if you call that operation, you would be getting back ESS job log files as well. In fact, when we do the journal import service, we'll talk about it. You have another operation. When you call this, it would get you the job log and output files.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Prasad. And one thing I wanted to add is, I've attended more than 10 courses till now, over the years. And I think this is the best course. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Arun. Sojanya?
Thank you.
Yeah, hi. I received only one mail, Prasad, that is for the Zoom session. Is it right that 2 more mails for the instance and also for the driver?
Yeah. You didn't receive onboarding email from us with subject says OIC onboarding.
No, I haven't received.
Okay. Send a message on this particular number. I'll ask admin to look at it right away. As soon as I close the meeting, I'll ask them to have a look. Send a message on this number and mention that you made a payment and you didn't receive a payment. Didn't receive the onboarding email yet. They will act on it.
Okay.
Ramesh?
Yeah. No, the Postman and the SOPUI, both are same tool testing.
Yeah, just two different testing tools. Tomorrow I'm going to show you how to.
Any difference?
There's no.
Postman and what's the difference between Postman?
See, a SOAP UI and a Postman. These are two different testing tools. Okay, let me open up an Excel and write it down. So, what we usually do is SOAP UI, Postman. These are two different testing tools, guys. And you can test SOAP services using SOAP UI, and you can also test REST APIs also from SOAP UI tool. Okay, these two are basically testing tools. Okay. And the same can be done from Postman also. Same can be done from Postman as well. But ideally, what we do is in real time also when we use it, we normally install these two tools and we use a SOAP UI to test the SOAP services. And we use Postman to test the REST APIs. Because these two tools, yes, you do have a capability to test the REST APIs from SOAP UI also. And you do have capability to test the SOAP services from Postman as well. You can test either of these services from either of these tools. But in real time, we use SOAP UI to test the SOAP services, not the REST. And we use a Postman to test the REST APIs, not the SOAP services. So this is what we use them for. SOAP UI for SOAP, Postman for REST. But please note that you can use either of them to test both the services. It would still work absolutely fine. So it's as simple as this, guys. So for example, Karachi Bakery sells 100 plus items. What are they known for? They're known for biscuits, right? So in a similar fashion, in a SOAP UI, you can test SOAP as well as REST APIs. And you can do a number of things. But what is it known for? What's the reason behind, what's the foundation behind the testing tool? It's primarily built to test the SOAP services. Okay, but it's up to you. You can to keep it simple. If you follow my instructions, and if you want to understand how exactly we use it in real time, to keep it simple, use SOAP UI for SOAP, Postman for REST. That's what we do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Ramesh, sorry. Okay, thanks everyone. See you tomorrow. Same time, same Zoom link, guys.